Welcome to Fiona's Food for Life YouTube channel, Cook, Eat, Nourish. We've got another interview lined up for you today. Make sure you listen to the end so you get their 3 tips to how you can cook today to become healthier. Please like and comment below and don't forget to subscribe. Hope you enjoy it. Morning Maeve, thanks a million for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me on, Fiona.
Great. Would you mind introducing yourself to my audience?
Absolutely. So my name is Maeve Hanan. I am a consultant dietitian and I also run the blog dieteticallyspeaking.com and all the related social media channels.
Fantastic. And would you tell us a little bit about your career to date?
Sure. So I qualified as a dietitian in Northern Ireland in Coleraine University, and then I spent about 5 years working in the NHS. So I worked as a general dietitian on the wards and seeing general clients in clinic related to often gut issues or healthy eating, weight management, IBS, all those kind of things. And then I worked as a stroke specialist dietitian. So that was seeing patients both in hospital and when they got home after having a stroke. And then I worked as a pediatric specialist dietitian. So that was seeing anything from premature babies up to 18-year-olds and kind of anything nutritionally that can happen along the way. So that was a really great experience in the NHS. And then the past 2 years I've been working as a consultant dietitian. So that has been working with companies and brands, consulting from a nutritional point of view. It's been seeing private clients one-on-one. It's doing lots of health writing, so writing for different websites, different magazines, working with the media as well. So really my whole thing is about promoting evidence-based nutrition and a way of eating that promotes health and happiness, and that's realistic and achievable.
Fantastic, very interesting. Can you tell me a little bit, I know it comes up an awful lot, a dietitian versus a nutritionist and the quality. Can you explain to us exactly what the difference is and maybe why it is so topical?
Great question. It definitely comes up a lot and I can see why people are confused. There's a lot of grey areas and it can definitely be confusing. So the first thing to explain is that a dietitian is a legally protected title. So it's actually, the full title is registered dietitian. So to become a registered dietitian, you have to go to a registered university and then you have to do your degree, so either a 4-year undergrad or a related undergrad and then a 2-year master's. And within that you do a clinical placement. So you would be, spending a few months in the hospital and actually kind of working and getting experience as a dietitian, working with people who are unwell in a clinical setting.
Yeah.
So that's one of the main differences. So somebody can get a degree and become a nutritionist, but they don't necessarily have that clinical placement. And then the other thing is, to stay registered as a dietitian, you have to stay up to date with your continuous professional development. So you have to be up to date with the nutritional science and you have to act ethically and professionally. So if somebody's calling themselves a dietitian, then it means they're more likely to be meeting all of those standards because it's a legal title, it's protected. Whereas unfortunately, nutritionist isn't protected. So that means that actually anyone can call themselves a nutritionist, which is confusing for the public and it's frustrating for the well-qualified nutritionists because it's hard then to tell the difference. So the thing to look for is, if a person is calling themselves a nutritionist, do they have a degree, what are their qualifications, and what are they specialising in, what's their experience. In the UK there is a voluntary register for nutritionists. So if somebody's a registered nutritionist with the Association for Nutrition in the UK, then they're meeting similar standards. So for acting professionally and promoting evidence-based nutrition. And then the third type of nutrition professional is a nutritional therapist. So again, it's not a protected title and sometimes it can be more associated with alternative medicine, but it depends on the practitioner.
Okay, thank you. One to think about. So why did you set up Dietetically Speaking?
So I set up Dietetically Speaking about 5 years ago and I was just really frustrated with all of the nutritional nonsense I was seeing. So online, on the media, even just speaking to people. And it was a place for me to sort of get my nutritional rants out of me. So it was just a hobby on the side that I started to do. And on the back of that, I started to do some talks around the UK. It's an organisation called Skeptics in the Pub, so people would go to the pub and they'd have an expert speak about something evidence-based. So that's kind of how I got started. I do talks around England, and then I got approached to write some nutrition articles, and it kind of just grew from there. So it kind of started as a hobby, and now it's had a big impact on my career because it's kind of given me the opportunities to become a consultant dietitian.
Fantastic. And for any of those of you who haven't checked it out, check out her website, or I love it on the Instagram. It's loads of really simple snippets of information, quick kind of infographic images in all areas, and it's really, really useful. So well done.
Thank you so much.
What services do you offer?
So I have all my services up on my website, but the main ones are one-to-one. So I have 2 clinics that I'm working from at the moment. So a Monday, Tuesday, a volunteer clinic under the Orla Walsh Nutrition Clinic. And then I have one in Dublin 8 on a Wednesday afternoon, and that's the Dietetic A Speaking clinic. So I work one-to-one with people for a variety of reasons. Sometimes people just want a nutrition checkup, a bit of healthy eating advice. It's often IBS, sometimes it's disordered eating disorders. So lots of different conditions really, and I have them all listed on my website. I also offer web consultations, so if somebody can't come into clinic or if they don't live in Ireland, I see people via web chat.
Okay.
I also then work with brands and companies consulting, so if they have a nutrition project that they want help with, or maybe it's menu analysis or something like that, so I also do that. I do a lot of health writing, so for websites and magazines, so I always love when people get in touch for that because that's one of my main passions. I do really enjoy health writing. And then with the media, so people get in touch for radio shows or for newspaper articles, that kind of thing.
Okay, fantastic. So one of the things are the diet myths that I love that you do. Will you give us an example of some of those, or the most popular, the most challenging, or the biggest ones on your agenda? What would they be?
Yes, so something that just comes up constantly and again. So I think one of the main ones I see most commonly is that carbs are the devil, that carbs are bad and evil. So I actually made a t-shirt recently saying carbs are not the devil. I was so frustrated by it. And basically, if we look at the nutritional role that carbs have in our diet, it's the preferred energy source by our body. So our brain and our muscles and everything function best when we have some carbohydrates in our system. So it'll depend on, if somebody has a medical condition, sometimes in that case we look at maybe pulling back a little bit on the carbs, but we'd never go really low carb or carb free, because the body does function best when there's some carbs on board. And also, if we think of whole grains and just how nutritious whole grains are, and the fact that 80% of Irish people don't have enough fibre in their diet, if we look at the quality of our carbs rather than, we need to cut out all carbs, that would have a bigger health impact for most people. So going for more whole grain breads and pastas and different types of grains as well, like quinoa and buckwheat and things, that would have a much better impact than people thinking that I need to avoid carbs altogether. Okay. So for some people it is looking at the quantity. Sometimes we do overdo it, but it's not to say that carbs are bad. We just need to have them in the right balance within our overall diet.
Yeah. Okay. Give us another one.
So another one would be coconut oil.
Okay.
So this is one. It was more popular a few years ago, but I do see it just come back again and again. And I think the fact that it was so heavily promoted before, some people still think, coconut oil, that's associated with health. They have that somewhere in their mind. So coconut oil is 82% saturated fat. Saturated fat is the type of fat that's more likely to increase the LDL, or the bad cholesterol, in our body. So having very high intake of saturated fat may increase cholesterol, may increase the risk of heart disease. Obviously it depends on other lifestyle factors as well. But for health, we shouldn't be having high intakes of coconut oil. And there was a stage when people were adding it to their coffee and were consciously having spoons of it. So we really shouldn't be doing that, because studies show that if we have a high intake of coconut oil compared to other types of oils, like maybe olive oil or rapeseed oil, it's much more likely to increase cholesterol. So for health, I wouldn't be encouraging it. If someone likes a taste in maybe a Thai curry or something like that, or if they're making granola and they just prefer that taste, that's fine to have it in moderation, but I wouldn't be adding it into your diet with the idea that it's good for health.
Benefiting. Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you want to give me another one?
Sure, I've got loads up my sleeve here. How about celery juice?
Okay.
So that has...
I think I missed that one. The first two I'm totally aware of, but I don't know, the celery juice just seemed to...
Oh God, I wish I missed it. So basically it was this fad, and it was heavily promoted on social media by a particular doctor who gets his medical advice from ghosts. So very questionable to begin with. But basically it was really promoted as this cure-all panacea, that it's this miracle kind of magical cure for everything, and really worryingly promoted to cure cancer and this kind of thing. And that was one of the reasons that, you know, I got into blogging and promoting nutrition messages, because I was seeing this really dangerous advice. Although, you know, I'm all for the health impacts of nutrition and how it can really improve our health and our life, when I see messages that say, you know, have this celery juice instead of chemotherapy, it's just really dangerous, really, you know, it's just so worrying to think that somebody could see that advice and in good faith think, okay, I'll do that, and could be having a really damaging effect on their health.
Yeah.
So there was lots of these really dramatic and unfounded advice when it came to celery juice. And when it comes down to it, I mean, it's, you know, there's liquid in there, there's vitamins, minerals, and there's benefits to it, but it's not a cure for anything. There's no studies that have even looked at how does celery juice impact our health. And if we think about it, it would actually be better to have the whole celery, because then you're getting fibre as well. So, I mean, it's fine if you like it, but it's unlikely to have a big impact on your health.
Okay, yeah, no, I think I must have been asleep for that one.
Wish I was.
Give us another one.
So another one would be this idea that really there's one diet that suits everyone.
Yeah.
And I think this is just a message that we see coming up again and again. So it's, you know, this diet that doctors aren't telling you about, or this new diet, and, you know, it's the cure for everything. This is the solution we've been looking for. And I can see why that seems really attractive and why we'd be drawn to those kind of messages. But when it comes down to it, it's actually about the overall balance in our diet, and it depends on the context. So for some people, maybe a vegetarian or a vegan diet suits them and that improves their health. For other people, maybe that's not available to them, or that diet doesn't suit them for whatever reason. So it's really individual. It's all about the context. There are some overarching messages when it comes to, you know, we should be eating more plants and getting more fibre, and most people would benefit from eating less meat. You don't necessarily have to eat no meat though. So it's all about having that little bit of flexibility and finding out what works for that individual, because we're all so different.
Yes, okay, and I see that in my cookery demos. As I say, I have some people who are trying to lose weight, gain weight, have allergy, recovering from cancer. There's so many different things, and it's not one size fits all, but, you know, everyone's got to eat, and, you know, I like to help people with how to make it easier so they don't have to spend too long in the kitchen.
Exactly, that's such a good point.
Okay, so we've done a few myths. How about one of the things I think is maybe plant proteins? So a lot of the time, you know, in January you've got Veganuary, and people are looking to, a lot of the times you say it's benefit to reduce the meat intake. So if we're looking at plants, because we want to make sure we're getting enough protein in the diet, can you tell us a little bit about the good sources of plant protein?
That's a really good idea, as you said, because Veganuary or just plant-based diets in general are so popular at the moment. So some of the good plant proteins would be things like lentils and beans and chickpeas, nuts and seeds. Grains also provide protein, so more likely a whole grain source will have a higher amount of protein in there. So something like, you know, even brown bread has about 3 grams of protein per slice.
Okay.
So what it comes down to really when we're talking about plant proteins is we want to be getting a big variety. So, I mean, it's a good principle for our overall diet anyway, because the thing about the plant proteins is they don't all have a good amount of all 9 essential amino acids that we need. So whereas meat and dairy do, there's only a handful of plant-based proteins that do.
Okay.
So soya would be a good example, quinoa and buckwheat. They have pretty good amounts of all 9 essential amino acids, whereas if we're talking about other beans or other grains, they don't tend to.
Yes.
So that's where if you have a mixture throughout the day of different beans, different grains, then your body will store all the different amino acids and it will make the protein complete itself. So if it has something like maybe a grain that has a good amount of amino acids except for the amino acid methionine, but your body has had some beans earlier on in the day and it has that methionine in its system, your body will draw from the pool in your body and complete that protein.
Okay.
So you don't necessarily need to do that per meal, although
yeah, because it used to be the guidelines that it was per meal,
exactly,
wasn't it? Yeah,
protein combining per meal, and I mean that can work for some people. You sort of know you're ticking your box, but we now know that because the body will store the extra amino acids, it's more important to get that variety over the day rather than per meal.
Okay. And the amino acids are the building blocks of the protein that your body makes, and it needs all 9 to make a complete protein. Is
Exactly.
that, have I got that right?
That's it, yes.
Another area I was looking to talk about is mood and food, because I run fermentation demos here as well, and I find fermentation food, personally, I found it great, and it tends to be the immune boosting side of it, but also the energy side, etc. Do you want to tell me a little bit about your thoughts on mood and food?
Yes, definitely. So another very topical area. And some of the main things to think about when it comes to food and mood is energy levels and then specific nutrients that impact our mood.
Okay.
Because a lot of the time, if we're thinking about our mood, it can be just related to low energy levels and just feeling sort of slumped and inability to concentrate because we haven't put the right food into our body, basically. So that does come back to the carbohydrates, actually. So one of the most important things is having your carbohydrates and the type of carbohydrates that are going to give you sustained energy.
Okay.
So rather than getting the spike and then the drop in the blood sugars, we want it to stay steady. So that's where your whole grains, again, really important, and actually how you balance your meal. So if you have a meal and you have some whole grains in there, you have a source of protein, you have maybe some healthy fats in there, and then maybe some fruit and veg. Within that meal, you're getting fibre, you're getting carbohydrate, you're getting protein, you're getting fats. All of those things work together and help to keep the blood sugars more stable, and then you get all the other goodness that all those nutrients offer as well. So that's, I would say, the most important thing actually is to get that right to start with.
Okay.
And then there's some add-ons. So there's more evidence coming out around the effect of the Mediterranean diet, and some really interesting studies that have been done where they've compared therapy with or without the Mediterranean diet, and actually the diet has a really significant impact on our mood. So it comes back to having oily fish at least once a week, because those omega-3s, and they're really important for how our brain functions. And actually, you know, about a third of our brain is made up of a type of omega-3. So we want to be putting in that good quality omega-3. So having, you know, salmon, sardines, trout, mackerel, different kinds of oily fish at least once a week. If somebody doesn't eat oily fish, then you can take a supplement. Although the evidence we have, we can't say if it's going to be quite as good. So we don't know, but it's better than nothing. And you can also get your plant-based omega-3s from things like soya and rapeseed oil and chia seeds. So you can get a variety of those.
So with the soya, say, as an unpressed, would you be talking the edamame beans really as being an unprocessed type of soya, or what would you?
Yeah, I mean all forms actually. I mean it can be soya oil, it can be soya like tofu, it can be the edamame beans. Yeah, so that's all a source. Yeah, the rapeseed oil is a good source, walnut oil, walnuts as well. So sources of the plant-based fats. Another one then would be the B vitamins. So again, that comes back to our whole grains. So our whole grain breads and grains and everything are a good source of B vitamins. Also meat and dairy, a good source of B vitamins, especially B12. And that's an important one again for how our brain functions. So that would be, I think they'd be really the main ones. And also then selenium is another important mineral that's been shown to, you know, possibly selenium deficiency then might increase the risk of depression or issues of mood. So again, if you're getting a variety of nuts and seeds and whole grains, also red meat, then you're getting a variety of selenium sources there. And Brazil
Am I right in saying Brazil?
Yes. Tipping your tongue. Brazil nuts are a great source.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can get our daily requirements, depending on the size, from about 1 to 4 Brazil nuts per day.
Okay, great. So what else do we have? The mood and food, the plant-based, the diet myths. Okay, next I'd like to ask you about the 3 tips. So I would usually ask for 3 tips that you can give my audience that they can, I know you've given lots already, but they could implement now to help improve the health of the nation. What would those 3 tips be?
Yeah, so I think I would actually be drawing on some of the things that we've spoken about already. The first one being that we should be eating more plants.
Okay.
And I do think that message has been distorted to, you know, eat only plants. But remember, a plant-based diet, it doesn't mean plant only. It means about 2/3 of the diet is made of plants. So most of us should try and eat more fruit and veg, more whole grains, nuts, seeds. So we're getting lots of different plants, and then all the goodness that those plants offer. So we're getting fibre, vitamins, minerals, polyphenols. So that would be the main one really, that, you know, about 1/3 to half of our meal should be fruit, veg or salad. We should be going for mainly whole grains, and then the additional types of plants like the nuts and the seeds.
Okay.
So that would be number 1, more plants. Number 2, as I was mentioning, the benefits of variety.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about variety in plant-based foods, you know, studies show that eating more than 30 types of plants in the week may improve the diversity of bacteria in our gut, and then that may have a knock-on impact on overall health and even mood and everything, as we were discussing. So getting more variety in plants is definitely important, but also just in the overall diet, because we get different nutrients from different foods. It keeps it more interesting, it means it's more tasty, more enjoyable, but also then you're getting a big range of nutrients. So I'd say mix it up. So a lot of us are in the habit of just, we're almost on autopilot when we go to the supermarket, so we just buy the same things, we have the same route, but try and just buy different things, try and get a variety.
Okay. So we've got eat more vegetables and maybe try and look for a half a plate of veg and salad. Would that be
for many people
an easy guideline if you try and work on that?
Yeah.
And then we have the eat the variety.
Yes.
What's your third one?
My third one then is to look at the bigger picture of health. So although I'm a dietitian and I'm really passionate about the benefits of health and nutrition side of things, we can't just pinpoint on this one area of health. We need to look at our overall health. So that's where I'd say, don't neglect things like regular movement, getting enough sleep, relaxing, socializing. So it's that bigger picture of wellness.
And in terms of the movement then, are you talking about, you need to be running 10K 3 times a week, or what type of movement are you talking about?
So what I think is most important is finding a type of movement that you enjoy, because then it's more pleasurable, and then also you're more likely to keep it up and to keep going. The government guidelines are the 150 minutes per week of something like walking or running, that kind of movement, and then at least twice a week strength-based exercises.
Okay.
So that's one that we sometimes forget about. So that could be weights, it could be Pilates, it could be yoga. So actually we need to work on muscle strength as well.
Okay. And with the sleep, is there anything food-wise that you would say, not to eat certain length before you go to bed, or to eat something before, how would you?
Yeah, it's quite individual. For the most part, if we eat too close to bed, then our body is digesting, and it brings blood to our stomach and things like that, so that can impact sleep. And if anyone has issues with reflux as well, eating too close to bed is likely to exacerbate that reflux. Okay. So for most people, leaving at least an hour before bed after they eat. The other thing is that for overall health, most of us should be eating most of our food in the earlier part of the day, so before 3 p.m, because that links up with our body clock, our circadian rhythm. So that might help with sleep as well. So get into the habit of big breakfast, big lunch, less in the evening.
Okay. It's not always possible. People
it's
working,
not.
I know, yeah. Okay, great. So what's next for Dietetically Speaking?
So I will be continuing to promote evidence-based nutrition messages and just getting the messages out there to, fight the nutritional nonsense, and just what are the messages that people do need to know, and sort of simplify and debunk. So I'll definitely keep doing that.
Great.
Hope to keep working, doing my health writing, working with clients, consultancy, so just kind of continuing the type of work I'm doing. I'm really enjoying that. And then one of my latest projects is an upcoming ebook.
Okay.
So I did a January webinar about eating well for busy people, and it was just about simplifying and quick healthy meal ideas, that kind of thing. So I am creating that into an ebook. So the details will be on my website for that.
Great. Okay. A question I always love to ask is, what would you choose as your last meal?
Oh, I like it. It's very difficult. I would say something Middle Eastern is my favourite type of food. So if I could cheat and have, like a big meze plate of lots of things, I would go for things like, hummus and falafel and halloumi and flatbreads and some of the different salads and things.
Would you go for any meat there, or would you?
I don't eat meat.
You don't
myself.
eat meat at all? Okay.
Although I don't encourage other people for health to cut out meat.
Okay.
It's more based on your own ethics and
the
environment and all that. And so I personally wouldn't. Maybe some fish.
Okay. And would you have anything to drink with that? Even a herbal tea or a kombucha or a wine or a beer?
That's a good question. I would probably definitely have some water, and probably wine or beer.
Okay. Dessert?
Ooh, I didn't even think about dessert. Something, depends how full I am after this feast. Probably.
So, depends if someone like Ottolenghi is cooking it for you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Maybe something like a panna cotta or something fruity.
Okay, great. And so where can my audience get in touch with you if they would like to learn a bit more?
So my website is dieteticallyspeaking.com, and I'm going to spell that out because it's quite long and confusing. So it's Dietically speaking.com.
Fantastic.
All one word. And I have links to all my social media on there, but on Facebook and Instagram, I'm at Dietetically Speaking, again one word. On Twitter, I couldn't fit that in my handle, so I'm at Dietetic Speak. And also then you can email me, Maeve, at dieteticallyspeaking.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Fiona.
Thank you. Thanks for watching today's video with Maeve. I hope you enjoyed it. Lots of really interesting information there. Please like and comment below and tag us, and don't forget to subscribe. Why not check out my other videos like the red lentil dal, so you're getting lots of vegetables and lentils in that, and also maybe the Lebanese cheesecake, a nice Middle Eastern dessert that could go with Maeve's last meal. Thanks for watching. See you soon.